All right, so this was the test this week to give you an idea of what we were talking about. Um, the goal is primarily to learn how to tell what these marks mean on an inch. This is a blown up view of an inch on a ruler, and this one would be 11/16, and I'll explain in just a moment one of those things. Another thing we talked about was circles, that the diameter of a circle is the distance from the outside through the center to the other side, and then the radius is the distance from the center to the outside. Okay, and we actually use circles quite a bit in drawing, and I will show you how to draw a circle with a ruler. We talked about what perpendicular means when two lines cross at a 90-degree angle. This little square thing means 90 degrees or square. Okay, we talked about what an intersection meant, which is two lines just crossing. We talked about how to add fractions. And so this is 3/4 plus 15/16 equals 1 and 11/16. I will explain how to do that. Okay, and then this little quote mark, it actually means inches in the context of fractions. So you write this next to it, it means inches. Okay, so I'm going to explain some things that we're going to draw first. Okay, before we start drawing, I do have to explain the ruler really quick. So each one of these biggest marks with a number next to it, that's 1 inch. Okay, yeah, that might seem obvious. We're going to focus on the marks in between that don't have numbers next to them. Okay, so the first one we're going to look at is the 1/2 inch mark. Okay, so I'm going to pretend for a second these are my inch marks. Okay, the 1/2 inch mark is a little bit shorter. Okay, and it's in between these two. Okay, and it looks like this. You draw 1/2 inch. Okay, and then in between that you have a little bit shorter mark, a little bit shorter mark. Okay, from here to here this is 1/4 of an inch. Okay, and from here to here is 3/4 of an inch. Okay, and then we cut it in half again, and we get these marks. So notice how every single mark is in between the previous two marks. Okay, so the numerator, which is this number, is going to change depending on where you're at, but the denominator is going to be, it's going to change with the length of the mark. So this is eighths. This is 1/8 inch, because from here to here is one of these spaces. Okay, and from here, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. From here to here, this is actually 8/8 inches. But that's an improper fraction, so we're going to reduce it to 1 inch. Okay, right here we have 7/8 inches, 5/8 inches, and 3/8 inches. So you have to be able to identify these marks on the inch. Okay, and then we keep going, and I only expect you to go to 16ths. Okay, we don't need to go to 32nds or 64ths, but they do exist. Okay, so again, I'm just drawing 16th marks. Okay, this is going to be 1/16, and there's a lot of marks there. So the trick that I teach my students is, can you count by 2? Okay, can you count by 2 with odd numbers? Most of them can. So we're just going to go 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, and then we're going to put them all over 16. Now, if you can do it, I would urge you to practice drawing this. Start just the way I did, starting with the 1 inch marks, making a long line, draw 1/2 inch, making shorter lines, 1/4, 3/4, shorter lines, so on and so forth. But you need to know all of this. Okay? The next thing we're going to talk about is how to put this into practice. with a particular triangle. Now we call it a 3, 4, 5 triangle. I'm just going to get a smaller ruler. Okay, so this is my smaller ruler. The importance of the 3, 4, 5 triangle is it's a shape you can draw to get a 90-degree angle. Okay, and this is derived from Pythagorean theorem. I'll write this down for you. And the Pythagorean theorem says that a side plus another side, if it is square or has a 90-degree angle in there, is going to equal a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now that may not make sense right now, so let me draw it. Okay, so one side is going to be a, another side is going to be b, and not the hypotenuse. This is the hypotenuse right here. Okay, these are the legs. Okay, c is always the hypotenuse. Okay, so what this says is if I take this number and I times it by itself, so a times a, okay, plus b times b equals c times c. Okay? I just had to make sure you can see that. Okay? Now that you can have some triangles that you get a lot of decimals and difficult fractions out of them. For example, if I had a triangle that looked something like this, and let's say this side was 2 and 2, and I don't know what this side is, so I could try and figure that out, which would be 2 squared plus 2 squared equals what? Well, I don't know. So I'm going to just put 4 plus 4, because 2 times 2 is 4, equals, I don't know, 8 equals this, okay? But it's actually this squared, right? Because we haven't squared the question mark. So how do we get this over here? Well, we have to take the square root of both sides. So square root of this equals the question mark, because the square root cancels the square. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think in square roots. So this is not really a realistic number or a rational number. But the math is easier with the following triangle. Okay, we call it a 3, 4, 5 triangle because it gives you whole numbers. Okay, one side is 3, one side is 4, one side is 5. And this is the first object I want you to try and draw. This will be your first assignment. Okay. The reason this works is because 3 times 3 times 3, or 3 squared, right? It's going to be 9 plus, okay, so that's this one, plus 4 times 4, or 4 squared. That's going to be 16, okay? And that's going to equal 5 squared, which equals 25. Because 9 plus 16 is 25. So this gives you a nice whole number way to work with squares and come up with this 90-degree angle right here, 90 degrees. Okay? So that's why this 3, 4, 5 triangle is important. We use it in construction to find if a wall is square. You can use it in drawings and those kinds of things. Okay? Your second assignment is going to be to use this right here to draw a square, but I need to teach you how to draw it. I think I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so the way you're going to draw it is you're going to start by drawing a line that is 4 inches long. Okay? And then you're going to use an arc to find the intersection of this point right here. Okay, because we have two lines. We know that the distance between here and here is going to be 3 inches. We also know that the distance between here and here 5 inches. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start making marks in an arc to try and figure out where my 3 and my 5 are going to intersect. So that goes back to that word intersection, where 2 lines cross. So I'm going to draw more marks here, but I can see that maybe they're going to cross here. It looks like they are. So at this point right here where they cross, that's going to be my 3rd corner, and at this point I can draw a line from there. That's there to there. And that gives me a right angle right here, or a 90-degree angle. And this is 3 inches, this is 4 inches, and this is 5 inches. Okay, so that's your first shape. I don't want you to worry about anything else. But if this is not challenging enough, I can give you the rest of the material, the adding fractions and everything. But I want you to try to do this, okay, as well as measuring or memorizing the inch marks, okay, or all the little fractions on this up to the 16ths. Okay, so 1/2 inch, 1/4, 3/4, 1/8, 3/8, 5/8, 7/8, and then 1/16 all the way to 15/16. Okay, you can email me your response. I do have stuff on Canvas, although everything for this unit was turned in on paper. So just email me a picture.